In a room with several people, one of them says to kill our protagonist and use his corpse as food. Meanwhile, one person, super happy, raises their hand and says that finally they have food. Crying, our protagonist says he is in a lot of pain and looks at the door to see who is coming in. A girl appears and says she made him open the door and that she wanted to receive an extra part of his body. While a man gives the protagonist's arm to her, our protagonist, deep in thought, says he was very naive and that if he gets another chance, he would make them pay 1,000 times worse. It cuts to our protagonist waking up desperate, wondering what was happening and questioning again if he had not been killed by his damn neighbors. Looking at the calendar on his phone, he realizes that November 12th was a month before the global freeze. On the balcony of his building, he wonders if he went back in time. In December 2050, the planet Earth was hit by a supernova explosion 500,000 light-years away, causing the Earth to enter an ice age. The daily temperature in Tianhai City was -60 to -70 degrees Celsius, leading to the mass extinction of all species, including humans. It cuts to our protagonist, irritated, saying that before he died, he got a lot of food. Because he was a supervisor at a supermarket warehouse. But in the end, he was robbed and cut into pieces so his neighbors could have more food. Walking around, he says his priority now would be to ensure his safety and gather enough supplies to survive the apocalypse and take revenge. Deep in thought, he says he needs food, entertainment, weapons, and to improve the apartment's defenses so that they don't break the walls or doors. Then, something happens, and with his hand on his face, he says he felt something entering his eyes. After opening his eyes, he wonders if it was some kind of spatial ability and says that with it, he could store a massive amount of resources. If he takes advantage of the opportunity, he could accumulate resources from the market warehouse, so he wouldn't have to worry about starving. While he was in the city, he says his stomach was growling, and with the apocalypse a month away, he needed to enjoy and eat delicious things. In a restaurant, he orders one of each item on the menu. The waiter, confused, wonders how long this rich kid went without eating. Super happy in his thoughts, he says that in the apocalypse, many people knelt and begged to eat the kind of food he was eating. Leaving the restaurant, a man says that in a single purchase, the client exceeded 50,000 and gives him the restaurant's VIP card. Meanwhile, two girls look on, one of them saying that King was lucky because a boy who always chased after her came from a rich family. King, thoughtful, wonders if he was pretending to be poor, and now that she knows, she would pretend to have met him again and then try to find something out. So King says to our protagonist that it was a coincidence and asks if he was going somewhere with a serious face. Our protagonist, thoughtful, says she was pretending to be a pure and virgin person, but she was nothing more than a whore who tricked him into eating his flesh. Then, smiling, he says he was going shopping. Deep in thought, he says he wouldn't let her die so easily, and since he needed to gather many resources, he would use them to carry the supplies. King said it was a coincidence, because they were also planning to buy some things. Her friend says they could help him carry the purchases. Meanwhile, cutting to the shopping mall, King asks why he was buying so many things, asking again if he was going to throw a party and hadn't told them. Her friend says it was a lot indeed and asks if he was planning to camp, thinking that rich kids ate different kinds of things. Our protagonist says it may seem strange, but if an apocalypse happens, at least he would have plenty of food to stock up. King laughs and says that since he doesn't want to tell them, they were helping a lot, so he shouldn't forget to pay for dinner. Our protagonist says his schedule has been busy lately, and when he has free time, he would pay for their dinner. King's friend says that in the past, our protagonist didn't buy these things, and always acted poor, and who knew he had so much money and just didn't like to spend.